Shade Rib Shack Thursday, basketball focus, going to switch gears and go into the first family of basketball in Greensboro. First family of basketball, the John Newman family. Got John Newman with us tonight, played at Page, who went on to play at James Madison, and he's got a daughter at Northwest Guilford, got a son at Greensboro Day School. John, it's all about basketball, your family. Come basketball season, lock it down, get everything else out of the way, it's basketball city.
It has been for a while now. I had an older daughter as well that played AAU, and at one time we had 3 playing AAU.
Wow. Kept you on the road on the weekends, I'm sure.
Yeah, I kept us on the road a lot, and it's a lot of travel.
Take us back to your days over at Page. You were on the football team and the basketball team.
Yes, back in the 80s, which seemed like 100 years ago now, but we were really blessed to have great coaches like Coach Kirby and Coach Morris, a lot of great teammates. Back then, Page was really a great combination. You know, you had a lot of kids that had the passion to play. You had great coaches.
And you look at it, you were actually a champion, I think maybe even a state champion in football and basketball. Is that right?
Absolutely. My sophomore year, had a chance to play with Bobby Dunn and a lot of great players. My sophomore year, and then senior year, of course, we won it in basketball.
It had to feel good. I mean, what's that like? Just walking around school back in the day, you're a champion in 2 big-time sports. That had to be huge.
Well, I think one of the things that was very fortunate about the coaches back then, you know, bragging and you know, going around puffed up really was not the culture.
Allow it.
No, they didn't allow that.
Yeah, no.
I mean, there wasn't no bragging.
But inside, you had to be feeling pretty good, though. You had to.
Well, you know, it was definitely a good feeling.
I bet you look back at it now, it probably seems even bigger, because back in the day, you guys were just having success. It may not have just affected you as much mentally back then as it would even now, because you don't see that very often. Teams winning championships both football and bat. You're lucky to get one in either sport these days, but to have both, that's unreal.
You know, I think it was a perfect storm at Page back then. I mean, we had great athletes. You had Danny Manning, you had Haywood Jeffries, Michael Brooks. I mean, you had a lot of great players, but I still really think it goes back down to great coaching and discipline.
And what kind of coach was Coach Mac Morris?
Coach Morris was probably the toughest coach I had ever played for. But he also was probably the best. I mean, he demanded perfection. He was always very fair, and he always made sure you were prepared for the game.
Major influence on your life, then, without a doubt.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely. Coach Morris was a no-nonsense type of coach, hard-working, very dedicated.
What about Coach Kirby, on the other hand? Flip the coin a little bit, go to the other side of the coin, and think about Coach Kirby. What type of coach was he?
You know, Coach Kirby was really more of a father figure, I would say. Spoken a lot of parables, told a lot of stories, and always had a story for every occasion. And, I mean, Coach Kirby had a really great coaching staff with Coach Page, Coach Stallings, Coach McKeel, and many others. And I think Coach Kirby really was more of a CEO type of coach, because Coach Page was really my position coach. And Coach Kirby, you didn't really deal with him every day.
Interesting. That happens a lot of times, and sometimes people on the outside looking in don't even realize how those things operate like that sometimes. Sometimes I remember when I was a kid playing some sports too, sometimes you're closer to your position coach. Like you say, you don't even know the head coach sometimes. That's crazy.
I think the thing that I really learned from Coach Kirby was, you know, get good people around you and let them do their job.
That helped you probably too for later in life at the same time, being a successful businessman. Also, you separate, kind of get the right people around you, things are going to work well.
Absolutely. I think sports and being blessed with the coaches at Page really helped me in business-wise, because you have to be disciplined, you have to be hardworking, and you have to have good people around you.
And you talk about it too. I mean, we could go all day long about the great job Coach Kirby did, a great job that Coach Matt Morris did. They surrounded themselves by excellent coaches too. But you guys would still not have been the teams that you were without some of that talent. You guys definitely were blessed. It's a great time to Page back in those days.
It was a lot of talent, and I'm missing out. I'm not even seeing a lot of the guys that I played with, the talent they had. And I think one of the things that's, you know, was very special about that time is the guys, we got along on and off the field. And you had some guys living in Irving Park, you had some guys living in Claremont, you had some guys living in Woodman Park, the Grove. But I think I think most of the guys really hung out even outside of the court and the field, and I think that's what really was a perfect recipe for success.
And you mentioned the Danny Manning years. I guess that night was it 1983 when you guys were champions in?
That was the 82-83 school year, champions at basketball. But I mean, you had Mike Foster. I mean, you had
point guard, South Carolina.
Walker Poole. I mean, you had a ton of guys.
Haywood
Vaughn
Jeffries,
Green,
right?
Haywood Jeffries, Daryl Miller, Mac Jones. I mean, Churchill Brown. I mean, I can go on and on. The guys. We probably had 4 or 5 guys that, on the bench that would have started for most other teams.
Anybody over at Page in this current, because you probably have seen their current edition, maybe at the Hayco tournament at least, anybody in that current Page edition like any of the players you had back then? I mean, you got the DeAndre Overton kid who's a very good football player, very good basketball player, kind of like yourself and Haywood Jeffries in that regard. But anybody at Page now, kind of like any of the guys you had back then?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, honestly, I think last year, the team they had last year, talent-wise, I think, besides Danny, I don't think they had anybody that could equal the talent Danny had. But I think the other guys on the team, last year and this year, I think 3 or 4 guys could definitely match up well.
Highly comparable then.
Oh, absolutely.
Interesting to hear that. That's
absolutely.
There. James Madison, was that the right fit for you? You took off up to Harrisonburg, Virginia, up down the street from Bridgewater College. You went to the bigger school. You went to JMU. Was that the right fit back in the day?
It was. I had the pleasure 2 years ago to go back up there to homecoming, and I had a chance to take the family, and I fell in love with it all over again.
Oh, that's good.
Just had a great experience.
That's good stuff.
Back then it was about 10,000 students, and now it's about 20. But it's at a beautiful location, extremely cold at times, but it was a lot of good people up there.
It's kind of a neat thing, too, because you were there at James Madison back in the day out of Page, and then you got Jackson Kent, who's up there now, came part out of Page, part of High Point Christian Academy. He's up there playing a big role for those guys these days, too.
Oh, yes. I had a chance to talk to his dad, who coached at Page as well, about that experience and how I loved it. And I went up there to a game and actually saw them and got a chance to talk to his dad even more. But it's just so ironic because there was a player before me named David DuPont.
Oh, yeah.
Who David went to JMU. And I would probably say that's where I really started watching him. Because when David was there, I would play with David in the summertime in the gym and got a chance to know him. And then when they made it them last 2 runs to the NCAA tournament, this is when ESPN really first started.
Right.
I got a chance to see them play on TV, and then his senior year they played North Carolina at the Coliseum.
A big run against Carolina that one year,
And when I went up there and visited, it was.
Who was coaching back then? Lou Campanelli, was he up there then?
Lou Campanelli was the head coach.
Pretty well, yeah.
He was a character as a coach. Was a very good coach.
Had a lot of success with that team.
He coached. His coaching style was a lot like Coach Johnson is now. Defense oriented, pass the ball, team ball. That was more of his style.
Didn't he leave there and go to California later on or something like that?
He went to California. I think he stayed on staff in California for about 4 years. And then he actually started coaching in Japan.
Wow.
And I think he wound up working for Nike. And I saw Coach Campanelli last year at a basketball reunion at JMU. Still looks great. Still the same Lou
Campanelli. It's kind of neat, your career going all those different places, the championships of Page, what you did at James Madison, a lot of connections, made a lot of good connections over the years.
Yeah, I really been blessed to be around a lot of good people. I mean, even in the business world now.
And you came back and coached UNC-G for a little bit too, right?
Yeah, I had a chance to coach at UNC-G, and that was another great experience, and met some good people, and that's where I actually met Kiefer Langley.
Oh, yeah, he was here a couple weeks ago with us. Yeah.
Kiefer, it's funny because I tell Kiefer, back then he had 2 sons that was better than him when they were in the 8th grade.
Wow.
Now he has 4 sons that's better than him.
I always hear those 2 youngest players are the best of the best of those 2 youngest, Kobe and the other one.
Oh, man, all of them. All of them are really great players and also great students. But I would say to any young guy that's listening right now, those guys put the work in.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
They're there on Saturday morning practicing. They're there in the afternoon practicing. And on top of that, they get their schoolwork done.
And Kiefer, I guess, was a player back when you were there coaching, or
he
finishing up maybe?
Kiefer was actually the captain of the team when I was an assistant coach. So I actually had a chance to to work with Kiefer. You know, I did all the grunt work, ordering the pizzas, making sure the travel plans were
You're
together.
almost like the director of basketball operations type role.
Basically, that's basically what I did. And I got a chance to talk to Kiefer and build a relationship with him.
And who was the head coach at UNC-G when you were there?
Coach.
Was it McAvoy?
Coach McAvoy,
There you go. Okay,
who I think he's at Methodist College now,
Wow.
AD down there.
So you were really back in the early days of UNC-G before they hit the D1 level. You were back about the D3 level, maybe the D2 level then.
Yeah, they had just, the year I got there, they had just switched to Division II, but a lot of the players they had were Division II and Division III
That
players.
Kiefer Langley would tell you today, if he walked in the door, he was always Division I. He was never. He's a character. I like his approach. But he would tell you he was D1 all the way.
Yeah, he was a great guy, great point guard, very heady, and his boys play similar to the way he played. They're just a lot better athletes than he was.
I got you covered there. You look at it, do you think all that was all part of your master plan? Because you had a heck of, if you made out the plan, you couldn't ask for a better master plan you put together. You think that UNC-G and other stuff, that was all part of the big plan, the big picture for you coming along?
You know, I think so. You know, my dad used to always tell me that every experience that I had would help me later on in life. And it's just ironic how a lot of the people that I met at UNC-G, even Coach Polk, Angie
Polk, good lady.
and Coach, it was Kim Phillips back then, but she's the head coach at Northern now.
Oh, yeah, Kim Furlow. Yeah.
Kim was assistant coach at UNC-G when I was there, and she was a player, I think, at Southeast when I was in high school. I think she might have been either my year or a year behind.
Very good stuff.
So had a good chance to meet her, and a lot of good people at UNC-G.
Why'd you leave the college coaching? What made you decide to get out of college basketball coaching?
You know, honestly, the reason I decided to get out, I really felt that it was hard for me to recruit 2 or 3 guys at the same time, go and speak to 2 or 3 different parents, tell them the same story.
Maybe playing the same position, and one of them is probably not going to get it.
Right, and I knew that some of the things that I had to say wasn't the total truth. They wasn't exactly a lie, but
right.
I mean, it's hard. You know, you get to know these kids, and then, you know, it might be 2 years later, you got to recruit their same spot. And in basketball, I mean, you know, college sports is a business.
Yeah.
And I think I heard a story today about the kid from Louisville who Bobby Patino pulled a scholarship, you know, 48 hours before. And I mean, I just didn't want to do that.
Tell you what, you've done a good job what you decided to do, go into. You've done the real estate work. That's gone very good for you, able to connect a lot of people in the community and help a lot of people too.
Yes, and real estate for me has been very good. I had a lot of really good friends like, you know, David Murphy over here. This company called SMO, and David has really helped me with real estate. And just so many other people that I've met at Page or met throughout, you know, my life here in Greensboro.
In your experiences, what have you been able to pass along to your kids? I mean, you've got to be passing something along to them too. What have you sent along to the children?
You know, I think the main thing that I hope that they learn from me is that you have to be disciplined, you have to work hard, and you have to treat people right. And I think if they can get those 3 things, you know, down and understand them, I think they can be successful.
Did you have kind of a sense or kind of a feeling back at the beginning that they would be successful players? Did you have a feeling when you first knew those young little kids?
No.
No, okay.
I would have to say my son at a young age was not a very good basketball player at all. I mean, he's probably come the furthest out of the 3. I always felt Hunter would be a solid player because she listened at a young age.
Right.
John had a hard time paying attention when he was young. So I'm not sure if he'd have made it to the level he's made it to so far.
And the good thing about John, he's a 9th grader at Greensboro Day School, and the ceiling is high right now for him. It is. There's no doubt about it.
I think if he continues to work hard.
He's getting minutes in big games this year, no doubt about that.
Yeah, he is. He has, you know, we've been, you know, truly blessed to be in a good program and to be in a position that he can grow and learn.
He's found a good friend in that J.P. Mormon. They seem to do well when they come in the game together. They seem to play off each other pretty well.
J.P. and John has played together since they were 7. And they do seem to have a real good chemistry together and a real good friendship even outside of the court.
How did the young Newman children, you got Hunter and you got John, how did they end up at different schools together? These people say, we went to different schools together. Well, these kids are actually different schools together. How did they end up at different schools?
Well, that's kind of, you know, I think at first, you know, I've known Coach Johnson a long time. And when I realized that John really was serious about basketball, I really wanted him to play for a coach that I knew would push him and that would make him a disciplined player, and he would learn the game.
You get the most out of him.
And Hunter, actually, we were going to send both of them to Greensboro Day School, but Hunter decided she wanted to stay at Northwest because of her friends.
Yeah.
You know, I guess girls have that social thing going on.
Got
And
that bond.
she wanted to stay in Northwest, but we were really going to send both of them there at Greensboro
She
Day.
just had her big senior night the other night. Is that correct?
She had a great senior night. The parents were great. Coaches did a great job. I mean, I was surprised at the details and the hard work they put in to send the seniors out the right way.
And that was back this past Tuesday. You got to get involved in that, and as soon as you can, hustle out of there and get over. But you have plenty of time because this game over at Greensboro Day is going not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 overtimes that night.
I mean, I'm still a little tired now for that. From that.
Yeah.
Great game, you know, a lot of great players, great coaches, super environment.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, we came out on the short end, but we did have the opportunities to win, and that's all you can ever hope for.
You may have seen, you see a lot of people because you got a lot of connections. Was Randolph Childress at a game like that? Was he there that night? I think they had a game that night. They were playing state that night.
Yeah, I don't think he was there. I don't think he was there.
I bet he's watching that game
his
back on tape.
His wife was there. I saw his
Mrs.
wife.
Childress.
Yeah, she was there.
Gotcha. I bet he's watching that game back on tape a few times now too, though.
Yeah.
Those 2 free throws his son hit at the end.
I mean, Brandon, he's a great kid.
I know.
I mean, he's an awesome kid, awesome family. You know, I was hoping he would miss at least those 2 free throws, but I told him after the game, he came up and spoke. And I told him that I look forward to watching him play, you know, at Wake Forest.
If you had to do it over again, you've come down a long road. It seems to have gone pretty well. Would you do it the same way if you had to do it again? Or you might be saying, I'm glad I did it the way I did because this worked out pretty darn good. How would you change anything along the way?
You know, I don't think so. I mean, I think that, you know, whatever direction you decide to go, you're always going to have challenges. And challenges are good because it teaches you, you know, about life.
And you bring up a great point, too, just to make kind of my mind. You can't keep going back and looking at the past. You can't keep saying, I wish I'd have done this, wish I'd done that. So you just got to say, hey, I did what I did. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Somebody said that one time, starting right with total cereal. That was a pretty good phrase. Today is the first day. Let's go from here and keep going forward. We can't keep bringing all that back, I guess. But you just keep saying to yourself, keep working hard, and you can capitalize on what you haven't done already, right?
Right. I mean, it's amazing how kids who work hard and are disciplined, good things have a tendency to happen to them in the long run.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes when you start looking back and doubting things, you know, it's always, you know, they say that Monday morning quarterback. Hindsight is 20/20, but
I bet Pete Carroll's heard from a few of those this week, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, man, I think that's something I don't know if he ever get a chance to live that one down.
Yeah, the best thing he's got going is he won it the year before. If he didn't have that win the year before, he would be in a big hot seat, I'm sure, right now.
Yeah, absolutely, but I mean, he has a bright future. I mean, they got everybody coming back, so you may see them there again.
If you're stuck on that deserted island, you got to get off the island. You got to play somebody one-on-one to get off this deserted island. You're by yourself. Who do you bring in to play one-on-one? Somebody you can still beat, but somebody that's still a pretty good player to make it a good challenge. Who do you play?
Oh, I can play Danny. Danny, man, I can beat Danny absolutely right now.
Bring Danny in.
Much
right
better
now.
shot.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm somebody that got a little heavier. I can push him off the block.
You can post him up down low and push him off.
Yeah, I can beat him.
And he's been so focused on teaching his guys, he hadn't had time to work on his game anyway, right?
I'm sure, yeah, because he's been pretty busy teaching over there. He's still got a little more heavy lifting
He got
to do.
the paycheck the other night when he beat State. That had to be a good win for him there.
Great game.
Be able to hold those guys off like it was that late surge the State had to try to come back.
Yeah.
And do you keep shooting? Do you still shoot some now yourself?
No, I spend most of my time trying to help, you know, John or Hunter or either other kids. But not on. My basketball day's over.
You don't pick up much basketball. Do you have any effects like to the knees or the back or shoulders? Any body parts hurting these days, or you feel pretty good?
No, I actually feel pretty good.
That's a good thing to be able to say.
Still work out, do a lot of walking.
Oh, yeah.
But overall, it's pretty good.
You remember that guy Page, just a name from the past? They always come up, we talk about things, all of a sudden some name jumps in. Remember that guy John C. Wilson? Remember him years ago?
Yeah, I didn't know John C. as well. We grew up in the same neighborhood, but I knew his brother Craig.
Okay.
Both of them really great players. There's players that I grew up watching at Page, you know, and
I see him occasionally over the Gold's Gym on Battleground. He still comes and works out some. I think he's a former policeman, Johnson Wilson.
Yes.
What about Reggie Spurl? Did you know Reggie back in the day, Big Reggie?
You know, I never had a chance to meet him, but I heard a lot of great things about his basketball games, and I've been told that our team was really the best team. Was a team that Spruill played on. Had a lot of great players.
Let's let you get Hunter in here, John. Excellent job.
Right. Well, thank you
Feel like
very
you're back
much.
playing again back in the days, man. Keep up the good work. Mark, let's bring Hunter in and see how she does for you.
All right, well, thank you.
John Newman with us, Change Radio Shack for Thursday, Basketball in Focus.